wait just 1 second so I can pour water into my tea?
Go ahead.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. I already started, but today we are going to be with Helene Eriksen, and she is a dancer, and you can check her out more on her website. And I want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Please subscribe. Also want to thank Neil Kasulki Myers for introducing me to today's guest. Helene Eriksen, where are you calling from?
Buenos Aires.
Oh my God, how cool is that?
Wow.
The first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
What is the best thing for a human being? Lots of things, but to be centered and calm and create community, not just expect from community. So always giving out with love and attention to make because we are, our culture has made us into such an individuals that we think that we're all enough as individuals. Now I'm hearing the feedback again. But what we really need, I think, is this feeling of feeling the other, looking for the other, helping the other, and creating community, because we are a herd animal. So what can I do about this feedback?
Okay, so you don't have that, by the way, that was a great answer. I appreciate that. Okay, so you don't have other tabs open up top?
You mean other website tabs?
Yeah, if you X them out, that helps sometimes. And also, if you switch to headphones, is that possible?
It's possible if you put me on hold for a moment, but we're in the middle of your.
There's no editing. We'll just let it go. We'll fix it. We'll fix it as it goes along. But you can try closing out all the other tabs, and you can. Oh, I know what you do. Here's what you do. You go to the bottom, and you hit the audio, either the microphone, or the gear, and you want to go into audio. So you want to go, you see where, so you go into the audio, and then you hit the echo cancellation button. Make sure that's on.
That's on. That's on already.
Okay. And you're still hearing the echo?
When I speak, yes. I'm hearing me through your thing. Maybe if you had headphones, I wouldn't have that problem. I don't have any headphones available right now.
Okay. No, I'm going to say, why don't we, can you live with it, or is it really bothersome?
I can live with it.
Yeah, because you could go out and come back in.
I know this from Zoom that it would help if you have headphones, because I'm hearing my voice through your internal speaker, your speaker.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fine.
Okay. So the second question is, what's your favorite form of information, how it comes into you?
Personal experience.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I have, for example, I have more than 10 years of university under my belt. And I have to say, despite all of that graduate study work, the stuff that I really learned is stuff I taught myself through, whether that's language or information or whatever, it's personal experience.
Yeah. That's the answer I get the most is direct experience. So that's good. But you say personal. I love your wording. So why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Because we're really curious animals, like little chimpanzees that are curious about everything. Because in the end, what the hell does it all matter? We're a flash in the pan. This planet is a flash in the pan. And I mean, maybe there's some like mystical other thing about God realizing itself through little us. I don't know. But mostly I just think we're really curious. Some of us are really curious. Some of us aren't. Some of us are just cogs in the wheel, which I cannot understand. But those of us like us are just curious little chimpanzees running around trying to understand what the hell is going on.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, you're fun and you're articulate and concise. So we're off to a good start. Do you think this need or want to collect information is more innate or more invented?
I think it's innate. Like I said, I think we're little chimpanzees
Yeah.
that like, I mean, that's how kids grow, right? They get curious, they put everything in their mouths, they test everything out, and we just do that in a more cerebral way as adults.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a what's the German is Treib, as something that makes you do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
From inside.
Do thoughts create emotions?
Emotions create thoughts and thoughts create emotions. It's a loop.
It's a loop.
Definitely.
Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
Question it.
Oh my God. That is a great answer.
Don't believe everything you think, right?
Yeah.
Favorite bumper sticker.
Well, you anticipated a line I'm going to tell you in a couple minutes, but this is amazing because Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. So, that's, I
Even
love
when you write it and when you say it, you have to question it because you
Yeah.
think all these things that have been programmed and you can reprogram it. And so is there even a right way in the end? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you anticipated my favorite quip ever. John Cage, they asked him a question. He goes, that's a very good question. I wouldn't want to ruin it with an answer.
I love that.
Because, and it's also Rebecca Solnit. She says, just because you ask me a question doesn't mean I have to answer it.
Right.
See,
I
you're
would try to get better at that. I know some people who are so good, and that's also a cultural thing. Some cultures are very good at you ask a question and the conversation goes somewhere completely different. You don't even notice that you didn't get your answer. I'm not very good at that. I'm much more like, oh, I give you exactly what you want if I can.
right. I know it, but that's what it came up early important because I don't, when I ask people questions, you don't have to answer the question. All I'm after is conversation. And
Right.
and it's great because you're articulate and you're like, no, I'm going to answer the question, but I am for anecdotes, stories, and tangents. So you can go wherever you want. And
Right.
I like when people reword the question. They go, well, I don't like that word. Try this word in your question. So I'm open to all that. Can humans think without language?
Yeah. I mean, our all of our different ways of we have so many different ways of perceiving, right? And one of them is mental language, but there's body perceiving and
Yeah.
thinking, muscle memory, if you want to call it that. There's, auditory and olfactory, and you can think with your taste buds. I mean, I think whatever thinking means. If you're talking about thinking, then maybe not. But if you're talking about perceiving, digesting, understanding, um, yeah.
No, I love you use the word thinking through. If you're talking about thinking, that was great. See, you're a wordsmith. You're like a poet.
Well, I'm a dance teacher, right? So
Yeah.
I have to get people to understand movement in their bodies.
Yeah,
And
right.
a lot of people in our society are used to thinking about it. And
Yeah.
so I'm very good at telling people how to think about it. But sometimes they have to hear what they're supposed to
Yeah.
dance, right? Sometimes they have to talk what they're supposed to dance. Sometimes they definitely have to feel what they're supposed to dance. Um, Maybe even they have to smell what they have to dance. I don't know, but you have to give them all of these different inputs so that it actually works. Now, what do you actually want to call thinking? I don't know, but if the body wants to work correctly, it needs to have all of those different inputs, and each person with a different level of whatever. Some people can't deal at all with thinking about things intellectually. It all has to be feeling or hearing or seeing.
Yeah, you're delving deep into a question coming up, but I just want to tell you this because it evoked, they go, the cliche is, if you can't say it, sing it. If you can't sing it, dance it.
Dance it.
And the thing is that, this whole thing about explaining to someone how to move their body in words is it's a challenge. But I do yoga once a week. It's my favorite hour of the week. And this yoga teacher once said, scooch your leg over. And I love the word scooch because right, but it doesn't matter. It's the yoga teacher, to me, it's all about how they talk. Because you can look at them, but they're guiding you with words, but it's your body that's moving. So it's like, it has to be.
If they're good, they're guiding you with words that create images or feelings or even sounds and rhythms in your mind. So the words are not just language. They're fulfilling a whole bunch of different levels to help that person along. And scooch is a great word because of it, the way it sounds, it's oral, it also visual, right? So it's not just a move your butt over that way kind of thing. It's a word that evokes a lot of levels.
Yeah.
I was at Milonga last night, a tango dance event, and there was this one guy from the United States who was sitting there the whole time just watching the dancing, and I know he could dance. And so at some point late on the evening, I said, "You really ought to get up and dance. What's up with you tonight?" He says, "Oh, I'm just listening to the music." And my first reaction was, you could listen to your music on your telephone at home. But then I realized I listen to the music so much better. I told him this when I'm dancing it.
Right.
With my body than when I'm just listening to it.
And did he respond?
Well, he did eventually at the very end of the Milonga get up and dance with somebody. But I don't know what he responded. He was a little bit.
Yeah. I have to tell you, my wife's our yoga teacher, and one line she uses is, okay, scoot your feet over to the side. Now look at your feet and go, I love you, feet. And it's like being aware of your body.
We're so good at, sorry, I just bashed my computer. We're so good at, oh, my knee hurts. Oh, my ankle hurts. Oh, this hurts. But we don't pay much attention to, oh, my shoulder feels so good. Thank you, arm, for being so strong and being a good step for me. We're always bitching to it. If you were bitching at a little kid all the time, how would it treat you? Not so well. So if you actually say you love your body, you're thankful for it, you're proud of it, it can make a big difference. Excuse me.
Yeah, really good. Because Chomsky says language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Sounds like the answer you gave right off the first question. But the question is what do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
Can you ask me that question just a second? Because I want to go back and comment on something you said. So language is a whole culture, but it also, culture creates your personality, right?
Yeah.
And I was having a talk with someone just the other day about this. I speak 9 languages or something. And in every language, I have a slightly different personality. And you can hear that when I actually start talking or the way I move. I mean, I move a little bit Argentine anyhow, but and the Czechs have a proverb that for every language you speak, you live another life or you have another existence. I kind of feel like that. Like I've got many more lives going on in this body than a lot of the people that I know. And I think a lot of that has to do with language makes you be part, and you can never be completely part of another culture, but more part of more cultures. And also that being part of other cultures makes you have a different personality in each of those things. So that was my answer to the question.
No, let's go into that for a second, and we'll go back to the question, because First of all, I'm half Czech and half Polish,
Oh,
ancestry.
okay.
And,
There you
and
go.
so you speak Czechoslovakian?
No, I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
Slovak better than Czech. I speak South Slavic languages, so that's why I understand Slovak better than Czech. I
Yeah.
can understand most Slavic languages more or less, but I speak Bulgarian, Serbo-Croatian, and somewhat Russian.
Wow. So I'm really impressed because the joke is from Miroslav Vidus, the bass player for Weather Report. He says, they call me Bounce because I'm one bad Czech.
So do you speak Czech?
No, I know like one line in Polish, "Yakshi Maks" or something. I know, like, I really don't. I'm bad. I'm like an American. But the other thing I want to say is the main thing I study, which Neil studies, is Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce. And
Oh, you too? Oh my God. Okay.
there's over 65 languages in one book.
Oh my God. Okay.
So how, I mean, you know this, if you can, 9 languages, what's the most a human you've ever heard of knows languages? I mean,
More. I mean,
Joyce,
read
Joyce
people who speak 30 or something. I mean, whatever.
30, because
Hey,
Joyce didn't speak 65 languages, but he did the research to put 65 languages in his book. But I'm
well,
always
I
curious.
studied a lot more than 9 languages. I can understand basic things in more than 9 languages, but those are the ones that I can at least,
Right.
I don't speak all of them like Russian. My Russian is really ugly, but I can, understand and get along and
But you
okay.
would say of the human race, the most you've ever heard of a person, just say knowing languages would be 30? Just a guess.
Probably. Yeah.
That
But I
seems
mean, that's like a super, like, that's crazy. But you go to some place like the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, and those guys selling stuff, they can jump and forth, back and forth between, 5 to 10 different languages, easy, right?
wow.
I mean, they're not having philosophical conversations with you. They're selling you a carpet or whatever. But
The Istanbul salesman talk about 10 languages. That's good. Okay, now that was beautiful. I love that Czech proverb. You
oh,
live,
you want to check tongue twister?
sure.
So a friend of mine who's one of those people who speaks maybe 20 languages, he's a linguist, as it is his dentist at the United States, who happens to be Czech, and she's like fumbling in his mouth like this, and he says, which is a tongue twister, which means to stick, your finger, through your throat. And she just completely died laughing.
That is great. Okay, now the Chomsky setup, because sometimes I set up these quotes, these questions with a cute quote. It doesn't mean you even have to apply it. You put the questions in the context you want. But basically, Chomsky's saying language is not just words. And then what I ask is, what do you do when language breaks down? When language doesn't work, what do you do?
Gesture. I mean,
Yeah.
your body, your eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say to you, you have to watch me or this won't work.
Sorry.
No, I can say no. I can say no. Right? I mean, what does language mean then in that sense?
Yeah.
Though it's not the word at
Yeah.
all.
That's amazing you did that, because when this ends, YouTube will automatically grab a thumbnail, and it will be me and you hopefully looking straight ahead at each other. But sometimes my head is turned because I take notes. And one time both of our heads are turned. It's like these people aren't even looking at each other. So it just happens. I don't fuss with the thumbnail and pick a better one, but I just hope it picks a good one for us, because that was good. Because you notice, you go, hey, wait, you got to look at me. I'm doing this to answer your question, dude. You're a great listener too. That's the beauty of this. Okay. So this is the question you've already tackled, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
That depends on the individual and on the culture,
Yeah.
and probably in the point in time in history, right?
Yeah.
Or prehistory. I would say we have gone over time from being more feeling beings to more thinking beings. There are some people who now are almost completely walking heads, right?
Yeah.
Not connected at all to their bodies, all completely here, connected to a screen or a box or whatever. So we could call that the evolution or de-evolution of man. I don't know.
Well, that's funny because Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. And I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? And so then people who
Especially
met.
when she's a woman. I don't believe that. I think only men can do that.
Well, especially Bridget Bardot, but people who meditate go, okay, now think about not thinking. And there's a bumper sticker on my a car on my street, and it says, "Don't believe everything you think." And I
Which
like,
is what I said to you before.
you could say, "Don't believe everything you feel."
Yeah,
So, you know,
definitely don't believe everything you feel.
yeah,
Don't. I mean,
yeah,
that's the way you manage to be calm. That's also the way that you manage to be a good actor or a good performer, is to create the way that you feel so that you can convince that to someone else, right? You can't just
wow,
act the way you feel. You actually have to feel that in order to, right? And so you have to produce that in your body. Now I'm going to feel like Bridget Bardot, and now I'm going to feel like your mother who's angry at you for cleaning up your room, whatever it is, right? You have to create those feelings, and you have to, and that's how, I mean, anxiety is something I've dealt with all of my life, right? But anxiety is just a feeling that has to do with the way you think about something,
yeah.
right?
You put,
Here's an epiphany moment I had, I don't know, 20 years ago or more. The German government gives you child support as a normal thing. I'm a German resident. My son's German. And we left the country to go to Canada for a year and a half. And I didn't realize that if you leave the country for more than 6 or 9 months, you're not eligible for that child support anymore. So we came back, and not only had they canceled the child support, I had to pay back all the money for the time
wow,
that we were gone, which was like 8,000 euros, which was for me and a huge amount of money. Okay, so the day I got that letter telling me that, I was in a really good mood the whole day, and then I got the letter and I opened it and I went, ah! And then at some point I went, wait, what the fuck? Nothing changed in the situation. The situation was the way it was, whatever. The only thing that changed was I opened the letter and I realized the situation. I thought about the situation differently than the situation actually was, right? It's not the situation that's changing the way I feel and the anxiety attack I'm getting. It's the way I'm thinking about the situation, the realization, whatever, that's making me anxious. I can now so you can take your brain and you can say, whoa, I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on that.
yeah,
The situation is still the same. It's not like you're ignoring it, but you don't have to. And that's the way to deal with anxiety, is just go, no, I do not have to think that thought. I can think a different thought.
it's really good, really great advice. Because when people get a parking ticket, I go, just pay it immediately and forget about it. If you're going to challenge it, then do that. But don't, oh my, beat yourself up. I shouldn't have done that. It's like attitude.
Well, you can do that for 3 minutes. I don't know. I
Yeah,
shouldn't have done that. Then learn your lesson, and then think about something productive. In my opinion, if you want to be
yeah,
productive and happy, you got to just
yeah,
focus. You have to control where your thoughts are. Your thoughts are monkeys running around in your brain. Try to
yeah,
walk one block and only think about what you see when you're walking on that block and not about something else, and you will realize you are out of control.
Okay. 2 questions from Alan Turing in the 50s. 1, is thinking a function of the soul?
I don't think so, but I'm thinking that.
Yeah.
So, oh, I am sorry. Let me make that person go away, whatever. It depends if there really is this thing that we call the soul, and if it depends on what we want to think this soul is. So if this soul is some sort of universal energy that we are part of, like a drop in the ocean that's a drop and the ocean, if we are that, then thinking is part of that, but thinking is also not important in that because the whole thing is so big.
Yeah.
If there's a soul, it's way beyond anything that we call thinking, which is our little human beta program of intellectual thought, which is pretty good, but not that great, right?
I love you are great. You are so great with words because you're very serious, but you're playful in that you have the gap in between of what you say. You hit these really perfect moments for me to communicate. So the second Turing question, I appreciate this. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
Again, how are we going to define words, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're defining thinking as processing information, they think better than us, right?
Yeah.
If we think that thinking includes other things, including what do you say that word in English? Philosophizing, or
Yeah.
whatever, or feeling or loving, then probably can't think. But it's going to depend on your definition of what thinking is.
Yeah. Do you
The next
go ahead?
question, I have to do one little thing. I'm listening, though.
Yeah. No problem. Go ahead.
I'm listening.
And I'm curious, were you raised? Well, you speak English really well. Or where were you raised?
So, I lived in Germany for, since 1983. And I used to come back to the States where I was born and raised. And
Oh, so you were born and raised in the
and
States.
people would go, and now I've sort of lost my strange European accent a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But people would go, wow, you speak such good English. Where are you from? Like, and then when I speak Spanish, I think I have a German accent. Like people don't know. I once was living in the dorms in Germany, and we had this guy who wanted to figure out where the hell I was from, and I swear to God, he guessed the whole world, including Indonesia, without coming across the United States. I don't know. It was funny.
What state were you raised in? What in America?
Well, California and Montana. So
Oh,
my
really?
father was a professor at Claremont colleges. So I grew up in hippie Claremont, California, with very alternative education back in the time. But because he was a professor, we spent every summer 3 months in 6,500 feet in Montana, to totally off the grid. So beyond Little House on the Prairie sort of experience, right?
Right, we're going to get into your that background, but I just was curious, really quick. But that helps. Okay, a few more philosophical, and then we'll eventually get to dance. and
We've already gotten to dance. All of this is about dance.
Yeah, it is ethnography. Okay, do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Well, if happiness is part of your meaning, then you're pursuing both.
But Viktor Frankl's where I got the question from Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. He says happiness doesn't tend to last, meaning tends to last.
But after reading Viktor Frankl, don't you get the feeling that he gets his happiness from his meaning, and so that they are together one thing?
Yeah. Yeah, but he
You
kind of
you
wants
say
to
it
be
that
seen.
way?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
if you just do it go for hedonistic, I mean,
yeah,
I'm a tango dancer. I go at tango dancing every night, and it could be that I would fall into this, and I'm on the border of falling into this all the time. Of it's just a big carnival and party, and you don't want it to stop, right? So if you don't also focus on the meaning that there's a community there, that's not just
yeah,
all about ego, it's not just about me,
yeah,
but also giving something to the other person that you're dancing with. I think those two things ought to be very connected, like
yeah,
Frankl talks about it, but,
yeah, you're right.
if you just have meaning, then you're one of those European mental masturbating, philosophers with no.
Yeah.
And if you're just going for happiness, you're out there on the whoopee ride watching striptease all the time and porno on your phone, right? It's when you
Yeah,
put those 2 things together that
yeah,
that creates heart and community and the thing that you're
yeah.
actually maybe looking for.
Yeah, it's really well put. I appreciate that because no, you will love this woman. Some of these early questions, I go, is it more this or more that? I know it's both, and it depends on the context. But I kind of cheat by saying, is it more this or more that? And she said, the way this woman goes, the word more doesn't function in your question.
Is aren't all real actually aren't all real truisms actually paradoxes?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's called false but false dichotomies. They say or coincidence of opposites. Of course, it's yin and yang.
Yin
But
and yang,
yeah,
exactly. And
yeah,
you've got if in unless it's both of those plus and negative things in one that seems to be a paradox but isn't,
yeah,
I don't think it's a real profound reality.
yeah. And then I was talking to college students and I says, is it more this or more that? And the one kid said both. And then one of the other students said, that's a cop out. And it was because I wasn't after, I'm for saying both. But she thought by the way I worded it, she wanted him to take a stance and a point of view. Actually, McLuhan says it best understanding is not having a point of view.
If
You
you're a
can go,
college student, you're still at the age where it has to be one or the other.
yeah,
You didn't figure out yet that it has to be the paradox, I think.
right.
I don't know.
But
Um,
there is a choice in the big picture because once we get into dance, you chose to emphasize more or show more time with the tango than with uh, tuba throat singing or disco dancing. So
well,
you
actually, it's a much longer route than that.
wait until
And
we get to that. Wait until we get to
yeah,
that.
and
Okay.
maybe don't put those words in my mouth with the tube. I mean, not that I've done much tube and throat singing, but it's more complicated than that.
Right. Okay. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating
Paradox both.
it? But I mean, your hint is it there and we're tapping in, or a little more, or is it we're creating it?
Yes,
Okay. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
probably speed of light. I'm not sure the speed of thought is so up to.
Okay, Audre Lorde, the poet, said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Her colleague Yvonne Rainer, a dancer, said you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible.
It's not a new tool. It's an old tool. The
What
power of
is it?
community. the power of loving connection. I mean, like right now,
Yeah.
that's like our only tool that we have in the face of all of this money, of all
Yeah.
this corrupt power,
Yeah.
is the face of standing together in the
Yeah.
understanding that as humans we are one, even though we feel like we are completely separate, because there's another paradox. I mean,
It's the ultimate tool. The tool of loving connection. Beautiful. Now, I asked the tool question so much, someone said, well, what about a toy? What toy do you gravitate towards? What's a toy that you utilize?
dancing.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
I mean, dancing is my work, it's my
Yeah.
intellectual
Yeah.
process, it's my community, it's my
Yeah.
joy to go out and play every night when I'm here in Buenos Aires. It's my pleasure in helping other people grow with their perception when I'm teaching, if their perception mentally,
Yeah.
politically, and physically. Um,
Good.
but
What do
but
you?
not, but more than just that. It's I would say it's creating anything.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
embroidering, it's
Yeah.
cooking, it's making my house where I am, it's dressing, it's I don't know, it's just
Yeah.
it's
Play. Play.
creating
Yeah.
this world, yeah?
Yeah. Play is. It's. I say to students, I go, get your life and your job as mixed up as possible. Don't
Oh,
separate.
that's me, there you go. But
Yeah.
some people are not like that, and
Yeah.
either they have to, well, suffer under usually they suffer under it,
Yeah.
or they mix it up and then they ruin the thing that they like. That's
Yeah.
very possible. Or they are too afraid of it, or I mean, it's not easy to do, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. So, what do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Either none of your business or nothing.
Ah, thank God. Someone finally snapped back. You know where I got that question? Uh, Earl Morris's film of interviewing Rumsfeld. I says, that's a good question. And you should see, I love it. It's me and you psychoanalyzing the wording on the questions. It's me and you are like kind of, prompting the questions on. So I I love that answer. None of your, because when people go money, I go, they feel about embarrassed. I go, don't feel embarrassed. All I'm doing is ask these questions. I'm not holding you to that. My mom said, I said to her, can I interview you? And she goes, yeah, but everything I say today, I might say differently tomorrow. I says, no worries.
Well, sometimes I get into this like existential angst thing. I'm a starving artist kind of person, right? So it is possible to get into that
Yeah.
mindset, and then you're stuck there. But then if I don't do the work while I'm awake of think a different thought,
Yeah.
then at night I will be in that position. I have discovered, however, the more I can let go of worrying about things, the more things come to me. It
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
but if I'm
It
thinking
is.
like, if I'm like the hamster that has to like get
Yeah.
everything as much as I can, then there's only a limited amount of seeds out there. And if I am the hamster strolling through the field, then maybe I just stroll into the barn and all of a sudden there's way much more than I can eat. I mean, I don't know, something
Amazing.
like that happens.
Yeah, that's William Blake said, we become what we behold. It's a power positive thing. I mean, you're going to worry about, and then, anyways, the next question.
Manifestation is an incredible power, but it's not something you can have in the front of your brain. If you have to put it back there somehow and imagine things already the way you want them to be, and then it
I
actually,
missed the word. You said imagination?
I said manifestation.
Oh, manifestation. Yeah, that's good. Because it is also, you evoked one of my favorite Warhol lines. Don't worry about what people think of your art. Just keep making it. That's what's hard. So this is what Marshall McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound, that artist are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So I ask you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
I don't know. I mean, if we take a step back from art and just look at Hollywood films and all of the prophecies that they have made about the time that we're entering right now, very clearly, right?
Yeah.
Tyrannical takeover, world destruction, I
Yeah.
don't know, dystopias. And I mean, you can't be more graphic and projecting than all of that. And yet, I don't know. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. No problem.
Just like I don't know the answer to why people live and don't surround themselves with beauty. It doesn't cost anything. You can
Yeah.
choose to have a metal can instead of a
Yeah.
plastic one, and it just might be a little prettier. I don't know. That I don't know why people don't choose a lot of things. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's Igor Stravinsky. Most people don't know what they like. They like what they know. So if all they offer you is sugar-filled cereal, you're going to go, "What do you like? You got cornflakes or Cheerios?" It's like, no, I don't need either of those. I'll have fruit, but they don't.
And
Yeah,
obviously, advertising is an incredibly powerful tool. And I mean, I'm not completely immune to it, but I've worked all of my life at desensitizing myself as much to that as possible so that
yeah,
I don't really react like most people. So it's hard for me to comprehend how people can. And so that also makes me a bad advertiser because I don't believe in the power of it myself because in some sort of way, because I believe.
you're good. You're good because your website looks fine. I that's how people I judge people on their website. I go, let me look at their website. And your website's fine. It's beautiful and it tells you what you're doing. And
Yeah, but it's not, anyhow, different
yeah,
question.
anyways, okay, now the follow-up is, do artists have moral obligation?
Don't we all have moral obligations?
Your answer,
And
yeah.
I mean, we all have moral obligations, in my opinion, but especially if you are doing something that has a big impact on other people's lives. I think of myself as a teacher in that more than an artist. Dim- maybe other people see me more as a big artist than I see myself. I'm maybe a little more um, reserved in that sense. I know that I'm a very good teacher. Um, um, and yeah, I have a huge responsibility. As teachers, we're not just teachers, we're psychologists, we're mommies, we're Girl Scout camp leaders, we're um, doctors, nurses,
Yeah, everything. Okay,
especially when you're working with a body, huh?
yeah. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
I'm more afraid of bad ideas.
There you go. See, that's the rewording I'm after. So can
But,
you
but of course, do we know why train tracks have a certain gauge?
are you asking me or telling me?
I'm asking you so that I can tell you.
I I I do not know. Please enlighten
Okay,
me.
train tracks have a certain gauge because carriages have a certain gauge, and carriages have a certain gauge because at least if we're looking at Britain, but each country would be different, right? Because the ruts in the road um, had to have a certain gauge so that you wouldn't break the carriage wheels, and those ruts in the road were a certain gauge because Roman chariots had a certain width. Okay, so that idea of something old that sticks around and is rooted and can't be changed is super powerful. The
Oh, yeah.
power of inertia. And if that's a good thing, then that power of inertia is sustaining us. If that thing is ultimately destructive, then, well, so, and maybe in that sense, bad things that have a lot of inertia are worse because they're so hard. Doesn't matter how good your new idea is,
Yeah.
working against that inertia is tough, right? But on the other hand, I mean, look at our last 2 centuries. We've had lots of complete revolutionary changes for the good or bad that have cut across things. But how many of them are also still following in the chariot ruts of?
Yeah, it is. Nothing new under the sun. And my friend says nothing old under the sun. You can flip it. Okay, so that was good. And so can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Mhm. So when I was, well, I'm not quite sure which one. I have a couple of memories when we moved from I was born in Los Angeles, then we moved to Toronto, where I went to kindergarten and nursery school and kindergarten in a French school. That was my first foreign language. And I can remember the playroom downstairs where my mom had a piano and I had a rocking horse on springs. And I can remember the little prissy girl who lived across the street waving at me. And then I can remember my kindergarten where at resource we had to go out in the backyard and the teacher would say, cour, cour, run, run. And I didn't want to run the whole research, so I'd run around the building and hide so I didn't have to run. I could also remember sneezing on my teacher, a very disgusting, wet, globby sneeze that made me very, very embarrassed.
Wow,
Yeah.
you have a great sharp memory. So is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
What kind of memory are you talking about?
Yeah.
Muscle memory is definitely, I think, a blessing because it
Yeah.
allows us to do all sorts of things with our bodies without thinking about them, like driving a car or, chopping wood or or dancing or whatever. Um, memories, memories on their own are like thought memories and not muscle memories are on their own, I think, neutral things. It's what you do with them. If it's what process, it's how you want to focus
Yeah.
that attention. Like we thought before, are you going to like obsess on whatever it is, or are you going to choose your other thought? I don't know. I had so many things happen to me in my life that there's just no way for all of those memories in my head. I try to have them be like more muscle memories of my thoughts and do what I'm doing right now.
Good. Can you tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you and what particularly was that impact?
Well, all of my small family did, but let's take my dad because I'm a daddy's girl. My dad was a professor, and he was just enthusiastic about everything that he did. He was really enthusiastic about his students. He had them come sometimes in the summer to our cabin and do field research projects. One of his favorite words was gung ho, and he was like gung ho about a lot of things. And he took me seriously. Like I could sit next to him at night as he was grading papers and have these deep, tearful, philosophical discussions about anything that I wanted to, and he would listen to me and take me serious, and that was fabulous.
Wow.
And he always wanted me to question things, so like because of him in my biology class in junior high, when the guy left off part of the photosynthesis equation, I was the one who was up there going, but what, your question, or I would sit in the front row of my history class and debate the professor the whole time, who was a libertarian, and he like totally appreciated me to have someone to like mental combat the whole time. I don't know. I think that was probably
Sounds like great dad. What was he a professor of?
He's a limnologist, which is freshwater aquatic insects and systems ecology. So also because he was a systems ecology person, giving me this perspective, a bigger perspective of the natural world.
Yeah.
and connected. This was probably another thing that he did.
Beautiful.
And he
Same
also was really good at corny jokes. So sorry.
corny jokes. There you go.
Side joke. How do you tell the difference between a man and a woman?
How?
Tell me. It's in their genes.
It's in their genes. Is that spelled Jeans?
You choose how you want to spell it.
Yeah.
That was my dad.
Yeah. Now the same question outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Oh gosh. So many people. An impact on something in particular, so that I can choose one of the amazing.
Yeah, you put it in the context you want in your life call. We're going to explore your life calling dance and shortly. So maybe as a dancer or as a teacher, or
Okay, so I have a friend that I met teaching at a Sufi camp in Switzerland, who became sort of like Seren's adoptive grandma and something between a friend and a mother and a grandma to me, and an incredibly good textile artist. She made some of my costumes, and she showed me, for example, I worked in the theater before I did anything else, and if something looks good from 20 feet, it's good enough for me, right? And she was a tailor and showed me that German attention to detail has its good side, right? It's not just all pedantic, but attention to detail and doing something really excellently and perfectly, like the way you stitch a garment, that's a pretty wonderful thing too.
Yeah, that was good. Really articulate and concise. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Religion of nothing, I think. I mean, nominally, it's a Presbyterian family, I suppose. I don't remember going to church except with my grandma. My dad, I would think his religion was really both of my parents was environment, culture, the world.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Do you pray?
I don't really know how to answer that. Not in any sort of typical religious sense, but probably yes. But
if God does exist, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
if God does exist, the God that I think of doesn't say things like that. It doesn't. It's like this reality, all the energy pulsing behind this reality for me is what I imagine God to be.
Yeah.
And you can't escape that. You can't die from it. You go and you change your compost bin, which I did yesterday, which is why I'm thinking of that. And that's reality. That's us transforming into something else and growing the next crop of vegetables. I don't know.
That's good. Really good. Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Wow, I don't know.
Well, the hidden question, and I appreciate for someone who's so articulate and concise, I appreciate that you feel that you can say, I don't know. That's fine, because the next one sort of follows the theme.
I mean, we all have complete evil inside of us. All of us feel that impulse to evil sometimes.
Yeah.
And we've learned that a lot of times being able to have a control over your impulse to evil is not your fault. It's how you were raised, it's what you ate, your food sensitivities, your blood pressure. And yet, and if there is only one reality, then all of that bad has got to be part of the thing that we call good.
Yeah.
As horrific as it all seems, how can if there is only God and there is only life and pulse, then there's got to be some reason to genocide in Palestine that we don't understand. That's horrific. I don't know. I have no idea what that is. I can't see that from my perspective as a
Yeah.
human, but I have to hope that there's got to be a reason that it has to do with, if there's some evolution that we're going through, that's part of it.
Get it over with and return to peaceful.
Painful question. Painful
Yeah.
question. I don't know.
Because here's the follow-up. How do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from The Mob and the Samurai, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
Well, let me just add to that the Bible says an eye for an eye, and it also says turn the other cheek, right?
Yeah.
So we have both of those ideas. I definitely think that the more you focus on something, the more power you give it.
Yes.
But the opposite to that is not ignoring it.
Yeah.
The opposite to that is putting your attention elsewhere, which is not the same as ignoring something. So ignoring something also empowers it.
Yep. But if your friend's being bullied and they go, hey, could you give me some advice? What would you say?
I have to think of an actual situation so that I can. I mean, it really depends on what kind of bullying that is and under what kind of threat they are, right? If it's mostly just esteem and emotion and so on, then I think it has to do with that person should be able to find an inner worth and strength and focus their attention, like, whatever, little kid, leave me alone, right? Not ignore the person, but exactly that, like, you again, you stupid little fuck. I don't know.
I think that's one of the greatest answers I get. What are you going to tell them? You again, you stupid little fuck. Because this is Nassim Taleb said, games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Gregory Bateson says, when the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? So the bottom line question is, what do we do? Rehabilitate. Does punishment work?
Well, if you read Tolstoy, it doesn't. And I think he's right.
Wow.
It certainly doesn't work if it becomes a private institution. I don't know. Did anybody punish me in my life that actually had a positive effect? Or if they took me aside and helped me do something different, did that create a different me? I think that had a bigger effect, right?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to gauge it because some people, learn dance and Shakespeare in prison and come out reformed. Other people, it doesn't work. I mean, we know there's a prison industrial complex in America.
Does it not work because of them or because the thing was inadequate? I don't know. We don't. Yeah. I don't know.
It's hard to gauge. Yeah.
Tolstoy in Resurrection is. I mean, that book is completely about exactly this question. Do humans have the right to punish other people?
Yeah.
And he comes to a pretty clear conclusion, and that they don't. But
well,
I don't know what the other I
Well,
don't know.
here you anticipate, you have ESP, you anticipate the next question perfectly, because no one gave me that Tolstoy uh lesson, and I appreciate that a lot. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Then, and this is where your Tolstoy lesson, Faulkner said sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Why can't we have both? Because they get us to different aspects of it. I mean, because we learn how to look,
Yeah,
maybe by watching other people show us how to look at a tree.
yeah, yeah,
The thing is that most people don't watch the movie of the tree and then go, "Oh, I just learned something. I'm going to now go out and watch a bunch of trees."
yeah,
That that's actually what we should take away from it, but we don't have enough bandwidth or time or whatever to do that. But
yeah,
that would be the optimal thing. That's what the artist, I think, is trying to maybe partly trying to do, is to give us a tool. Well,
yeah,
he's just showing his way of doing it, but it could give us a tool.
yeah. Because I've studied cinema for 60 years, and I hate it, because even now I walk down the street and all I see is a billboard for a new movie and there's a gun in it. I was like, could you please not put guns in movies anymore? I don't need that anymore. Okay, you
Why do
already
you
had.
even pay attention to US films
Oh,
making
I
now?
know. No, it's the history of cinema, 130 years. But here's what I'm trying to say is, we don't know if a violent book or a violent movie in, causes us to be violent or alleviates us of the need that we think we are violent. I want to clarify by saying I wrote an essay recently called "Can Art Stop War?" And it's basically based on Maria Gimbutas and Riane Eisler, Chalice and the Blade, that we're more hardwired for cooperation and partnership than we are for violence and war. Most people think, oh, we're hardwired for war. It's like, no, we're not. We're hardwired for cooperation.
We're hardwired for both. Most
I well,
definitely. Look at human history, and we are hardwired for both. And those two conflicting things are personal conflicts all the time. And the reason why we advance and still kill each other and have professional detention centers and kill people en masse in wherever we're in the world, including our own place.
yeah. Well,
Unfortunately.
yeah,
I mean, I'm a historian on top of all of this stuff that I do, because I don't think you can understand dance without understanding its context in history. And the
right.
more I look at, of course, history is never a history of the cooperation, or for the most part, the cooperation and the community. It's a history of conflict, so it focuses our attention on something else.
Yeah,
And yet, please. It's such a huge part of
yeah.
so many cultures.
Okay, now walk us through. That was beautiful. I appreciate everything you're teaching me. Walk us through your tipping points. Where you're many things, but I mean, basically, you're a dancer, an ethnologic. You'd study it,
Ethnology, dance,
and
dance
choreo-
ethnology.
choreography, and a teacher. Where's your tipping point? You're growing up in where in Claremont, you, like you said, that's an amazing community for learning. And then you go to these all, where's your tipping point and go, that's my calling?
Um, well, first of all, I imagine life, or my old imagination of life is this is a long corridor and there's all these doors.
Yeah.
Instead of going bang, 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 I'm going to knock on that door until it opens and spend all my energy breaking it down. I'm just going to walk along and go in the door that opens, right? Like I
Oh,
like the
good.
vision of a river now. It takes you where you need to take. So even though I imagine doing certain things, the things I end up doing were the things that presented themselves to me that took me to where I was going. So when I was 15, I got taken by friends to go international folk dancing. And on that one evening, I met both my first boyfriend and international folk dancing. I started dancing in a bunch of I started dancing folk dancing regularly, started dancing in a small local dance ensemble, then a bigger semi-professional ensemble in Los Angeles. And at the same time, I was in high school. I was in the theater department as a technician. I was working in mostly in scene design. I did actual professional work for community theater in Claremont. And so when I went to college, well, first of all, I wanted to go to Princeton, Yale, or Harvard or Dartmouth because, I was in the top of my class and I just was sure that I was going to get a Yale. But I didn't. So at the very last moment, I ended up going to UCLA, and I was so late in getting into UCLA that the theater department was already full, and so I had to choose something else. And so there was this interdisciplinary program called Ethnic Arts, which was it later grew up and ate its mother. It became the Center of World Arts and Culture, but back then it was an interdisciplinary program between dance, music, art, theater, anthropology, folklore, and I don't know, maybe that was it. And so I did that, and I studied language. I studied Bulgarian, I studied Serbo-Croatian, I studied Russian at the university. And I was dancing in Avaz, which was a semi-professional dance ensemble. I went there because of the Balkan music, and I fell in love on the first night at the of rehearsal with things like Georgian and Uzbek, and that like completely opened my mind. And then I was at a Bulgarian American Friendship Society New Year's party, and I'm dancing Bulgarian dancing. And this small gentleman comes up to me, small distinguished gentleman, and says, "Oh, you dance so beautiful Bulgarian dancing. I want to send you to Bulgaria." And I'm thinking, who is this kook? He got me a scholarship from the Bulgarian government.
Wow.
In 1981, the age of 20, I left the United States to go to live in Bulgaria for a year, right?
Wow.
Communist Bulgaria, which was a big shock. And I lived there for a little more than a year. And then there was a small thaw in Turkish-Bulgarian relationships. I don't know if you know the bad history of Turkey and Bulgaria and exchange of anyhow, there was a small thaw in relationships just before it got really bad. And the Turkish State Dance Ensemble came to Bulgaria and performed, and I went to see their shows and hang out with them afterwards. And they're like, "Oh, you should come to Turkey." Well, Turks are generous. They say things like that. They don't really mean it, but I accepted. So
you fell for it?
After I finished my year plus in Bulgaria, I went and lived in Ankara with a dancer of the dance ensemble and was like their guest for a half a year, and got a job in a economic newspaper, being an editor and translator in order to keep my head above water. So I learned Turkish. And before that, while I was still in Bulgaria, a friend of mine who had been studying in Germany who was from my high school, came and visited me in Bulgaria. So I had gone to visit her in Germany. And when I was there, I just happened to meet the Bulgarian professor, to meet Greeks from northern Greece who were actually Macedonians and spoke Macedonian, And I thought, after I go to Turkey, I could go to Germany for half a year because German would be a good scientific language to know. So I did. And then I got into a fight with my mother about whether I was going to marry this person that I met in Turkey, whatever. And she insisted, "I'm not going to give you any money till you come home again." So I said, "Well, don't give me any money. I'm staying here." So
how about that for gesture?
I stayed in Germany. that out of that ostensible half of a year of being in Germany, it's now been 42 years that I've lived in Germany. And so
So now 42 years you've lived in Germany.
I have I'm a German resident for 42 years.
Wow. Well, let's go. You can explore this all more, but basically, you're a choreographer. That's one thing you do where you really expound your creativeness. Let's say that. And a dancer.
Can I say something different? I see my job as a triangle between.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
One is the academic who does the research, who's the ethnographer, who studies the history, who's a linguist. The next is the person who does public education. I got sick of the university system and decided, okay, instead of following all of this, I'm going to be my own. I'm going to work for myself and be a public educator in whichever situations that is. Sometimes universities, whatever.
Right.
A teacher. And then I'm an artist.
Artist is your other one. Okay.
Choreography, the creating of costumes and And, so of course for the art world, I'm, Miss brainy geeky girl. For the academic world, I'm the crazy flamboyant artist. And trying to make everybody wants to put you in one of those corners, but
I do not want to put you in a corner because that's what
but a lot of people do, right?
No, I mean it's normal. That's where we're raised. So what do you want to be when you grow up? You're supposed to say thing. I never
know what I wanted to be when I was growing up?
What?
You'll love this. I wanted to be a nurse in a rocket ship to the moon.
That's almost as good as mine. I'm gonna write that down. Nurse on a rocket to the moon. You know what mine was?
I think it's because, early 60s, even though my mother was completely emancipated and like that was something that you could be instead of the actual astronaut. I don't know. Anyhow.
No, mine was I wanted to be an international Playboy priest because
so now you are. Look at here. You are.
It's like you want to be a priest in the Catholic Church because I sort of through my art I put on events. And it's sort of like a church, in a way. It's just events, film, music, poetry, everything.
Right,
but
and you grew up Catholic, right?
Yeah, and I was raised Catholic, but I loved, I was raised in that era of Hugh Hefner, and I go to the sporting goods store and they had a sweatshirt with the Playboy bunny emblem on it. I was like, oh, I want one of those. So, anyways, I appreciate what you said there because one of my main teachers said the key to your whatever, it's not success, is that you never specialized. I never specialized, so I do film art, everything, and that's what you never specialized, but you specialized enough to get your triangle to make you move your project forward and pay your.
I'm on one of those focused. I am studying the ornaments on the points of clocks from this small village in Bosnia. No, I'm like, whoa, right?
But let's go here. This is a screenwriting teacher said to me, great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process? And you put it in the context you want. In any corner of your, or, as a choreographer or as a textile or I like public educator, all of those. Pick any of them. What role does intention play?
So a sort of political education of people using dance as a vehicle is maybe a hidden intention or not so hidden intention behind a lot of what I do. So, and that creates choreographies, for example, that are not based on we're all standing 8 people in a row doing something like really cutesy to the front of the stage, but we're trying to recreate community. We're trying to look for something authentic, whatever the what that word means, that something that looks like real people actually do in real situations, that we're not just, I do training programs and not a professional ensemble. So the training program is for everybody. So we've got professional dancers next to 60-year-old women who've never danced before in their life, because that's like real life. And if you can get, I think what made Neil so interested in this show, part of it is that you see that what's actually entertaining is the communication, the heart communication between the people doing something, maybe not imperfect, maybe not perfectly, but interestingly, because of the way they're engaged in it.
Yeah. Now that really articulated. In fact, immediately it thought of one of my favorite musics growing up was Parliament Funkadelic. George Clinton, it's the oldest band in the world that has an original member, 70 years. It used to be Sun Ra, Count Basie, and Duke Ellington. Now it's Parliament Funkadelic. And his mantra is free your ass and your mind will follow. So if you move,
so in other words, take your diuretics from it.
yeah, it's like if you move your body, your mind will be free. It's the mind body connection. So I mean, that's sort of what you're doing. It's like, hey, dancing is about with other people. It's
about other people, but it's also trying to teach people who live, particularly, I mean, I teach Europeans a lot too, but people who live in this idea of this is where we live and this is all there is, and teaching them about, and then maybe they have some sort of exotic idea of, okay, there's Japanese sushi out there and there's Arab belly dancing and maybe there's Brazilian, so I don't know what, a few exotic things, but what real people actually really do in a very wide and diverse sections of the world, and understanding them and how those, what happened to their life because of history, politics, geography, blah, 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 why they dance and move the way they do, because that's a reflection of their culture. That just broadens people's minds. It's a different way of teaching them about the world.
When Frank Zappa toured years ago, he used to play the Bulgarian women's choir as you walked in to a rock band. And that's when they were charting on the English pop charts. When Bulgarian Women's Choir album, when that hit and everybody and their mother were listening to it, it was an amazing phenomenon. And I still love to go listen to that original one. And then they were on Johnny Carson, and it's same with tuba throat singers. When Richard Feynman brought the tuba throat singers to Southern Cal, they were in the Rose Bowl parade and they were on Johnny Carson, and then they're at Zappa's studio jamming with them. So that's like taking international. Go ahead. Yeah, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say I used to direct a Balkans women's choir, and part of Enardina, there's usually always something that we sing as well. So
yeah, and it's amazing because that's the we'll get into music. I mean, the next question is Duchamp saying there's no art without an audience. When you're making your art, when you're teaching it, how much are you thinking of the person, the consumer of the art? There's also the person who's dancing, but there's also the audience who comes to see.
Totally. It's important, but it's not important in that you like do those kind of projections that are just for the audience.
Yeah.
That's boring, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What makes it nice, or what I focus on, what makes it nice for me, what I focus on in my kind of choreography is letting the audience participate in an experience. This is our experience that we're sharing with you, and we're quite aware that we're sharing with you, but we're not doing it necessarily for you all the time. Sometimes there's choreographies like that. We're doing it for you because that's the context. And then I thought that when I got to a certain age and I stopped performing very much, I still perform, but not like all the time like I used to, that would just kill me. I wouldn't have that moment of performing which is about a communication with the audience. That you're sharing this groove, you're making them feel what you're feeling, you're letting them see the music in motion, right? I thought that would kill me, but then at that point, tango came into my life about 20 years ago. And instead of doing that with a big audience of people, I'm doing that with another person in a more personal space, sharing them what I hear in the music as they share what I'm hearing, what they're hearing in the music, communicating. And that replaced that, it didn't replace that need, it fulfilled that need.
Okay,
So that
yeah.
sharing is
Yeah.
I think the answer.
No, your whole thing is sharing. Did you get that more from the way your parents raised you or more on your own?
Maybe as a reaction that I didn't get enough of that from my parents, or at least from my brother, Mr. Soul, who was, yeah.
That's
My
heavy.
father
Okay.
definitely shared with me, but I think I have this need for a connection, maybe from something I missed as a kid.
Yeah. And then
Also, always a kinky, weird other person outside, and so always feeling like an outsider, right? And so this idea maybe comes also from there is, and I'm good to it, creating that space for other people, but not always being as much of a part of it as I want to be myself. Maybe too much information is on a really
no,
personal
that's
level.
good. It's Oscar Wilde said, when my female friends were turning 50, they were fretting becoming their mothers. And then my male friends weren't fretting becoming their mothers because mainly we're raised by our mothers. And Oscar Wilde said, women fret becoming their mothers, men don't, and that's their problem. So I mean, it is like you become your parent. It doesn't matter. You become your parent. But you, like, if your parent's an alcoholic, you might not become an alcoholic because your parent was. So it's reactionary, or you might because it's in your DNA. So we can't
Or
separate.
you can program it that way. It could be, yeah, the either other thing. Yes.
You can't set, I ask people, well, your longevity in your life, like how long your dad lived, was it more? Well, how long is your dad still alive? How long did he live till? About what age?
80, mid 80s, something.
Yeah, that's good. The normal American male is 74, females 84. So he lived to, 84. So was it a little more lifestyle choice that he lived till 84 or a little more DNA? Your
I
guess or
think he could have lived a lot longer. His sister is now like probably 100. And that it was food choice and bad
yeah,
choice in women that probably killed him early.
yeah. Okay, so this is really good. Now, the extension question, I have a little problem, but you can apply it. McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness. The knife and fork extends our teeth, shutter and a camera extends our eyelid, and say even non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, could extend consciousness. What's your main tool? I was trying to figure out, like, or we could take one, like a costume, making a costume. That's what you make costume, or designing a theatrical set. What does that extend? What does would costume be good? Do you make your costumes?
I used to make my costumes. Unfortunately, the thing that really springs to mind right now that would be the tool that extends me is this box right in front of me or my telephone.
Okay, what does the cell phone extend for you? Is that what you're saying, or the laptop?
It extends my eyes and vision of the world. I can see too much of what's going on in the world, especially like Instagram and following
Yeah,
all of the political,
yeah,
humanitarian crises in the world. It overwhelms me emotionally because we are not built as humans to notice that much, um, that much tragedy
yeah,
in a sort of trivial way where we're not actually involved because it's that screen. It increases my reach because I never wanted to teach online, but during the pandemic, I got thrown into teaching online. So now I teach a lot online.
Yeah.
It's the way
No. Yeah.
it's the communication material. I mean,
no, we could have never done.
I just want to turn that box over off and then never have to do it again. But
Yeah, because we could have, I could have waited. Well, when you come back to Claremont, I'll drive out there and we'll do the interview. I mean, you hit a button in your country and I hit a button in mine. I mean, it totally changed my interviews. That's why I do 4 a week now. And I mean, it's ridiculous. But I think what you said in a trivial way is amazing because it's back to your emphasis on community. Have you ever heard this thing, especially studying anthropology and cultures, that all we need is 150 people or like 50 people? You don't have to know what happened 100 miles away, whether it was an earthquake or not. It's your community that's important. So what McLuhan got it from Wyndham Lewis, was he said the world turned into the global village. So we lived in this, and then mid-career he dropped that and he says now we're no longer global village, we're the global theater, because a Sputnik went up and caused a prosimian arch around the world, and we're all on YouTube now. Like, we will in a few minutes, we'll hit stop and you'll be on YouTube for 90 minutes talking.
right.
And it's, yeah. So I mean, yeah, go ahead.
So the problem is that when it's a small group of people like you and I right now, we're actually sharing space, being communicated, da 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 da. Later, when it gets put up on YouTube, that becomes, no matter what great things we say, it becomes trivial in a sort of a way. It becomes overwhelming. There's just too much stuff out there, right? So it's both.
Yeah.
I mean, I can have my small groups of students and work with them. I can actually talk with people almost as if they were there. So that's definitely a help in this world where I'm not where I want to be with people, especially with a mobile life that I have. I can actually be connected with people and do meaningful things. And yet there's so much out there. It's such a giant soup that it becomes all unimportant or overwhelming. Or
right. It's this amazing thing. McLuhan's first book is called The Mechanical Bride. In the first paragraph says, it's like Edgar Allan Poe's Descent into the Maelstrom. The guy's on his boat. The ocean storm wrecks the boat, and it's all breaks the boat in pieces, and it's going down to a whirlpool and killing him. And instead, he studies the pattern of the whirlpool and swoops his way out of dying. And that's what he says, we are in a information overload, and we can use that to swoop our way out. So in a way, me and you talking for 90 minutes was very productive for me, at least, and very joyous in so many ways. I learned a lot. But again, it's like has services and disservices. That's the thing. Everything humans invent have services and disservices. So one thing I want to emphasize is I hope to God you'll do a part 2, because we barely broke the surface on my questions. I mean, I want to get a lot deeper.
I have to tell you my actual physical story of almost doing that whirlpool thing when I almost died off the coast of Mexico. I could tell you that whole story.
Well, you can tell me that now, or you want to do it in part 2. It's up to you.
Okay, so I'm in a canoe with some friends. I'm just out of high school, so we're all stupid. They're college age guys, and we have a canoe, and we're off the coast of Baja, and we all have life jackets, thankfully. And we go out over this headline with not headline. What's the word I want? Anyhow, big rocks with crashing waves, and we come around and we come to a bay, and we realize that the boat's taken on too much water, but we don't have a bailer, so we better go into the bay and dump out the water and then come back out again. But then this big wave comes and goes and completely fills the boat. The boat turns over, and there we are. It's January, by the way, in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Baja. And so thankfully we've laced our shoes not so tightly. We did off the laces, and we start swimming. And to keep me going, my friends are like, "Tell me, Helene, what you got for Christmas?" So because it's cold, it's hard work. We're not moving anywhere because we're right in the middle of the bay where the tide's going like this, right? So you don't move anywhere. Finally, the first one, David, takes off, and he manages to get out of this zone and gets onto land. And my other friend is sticking with me, but then at some point he also like is gonna save himself. He leaves, and I am by myself paddling in the middle of the bay thinking, what the fuck am I gonna do? And I notice that the waves are crashing onto the rocks onto my right. So I think, well, maybe if I let the waves crash me onto the rocks, I can hold on to the top of the rock. They can drop down and I can maybe climb up. That's my only chance because I'm about to die because I've been in the water, 20 minutes or whatever. And so I start to swim to this cliff. But when I get to the cliff, I notice, there's much more of a tide that's bringing me in. So thankfully, I don't have to do that first thing. So I actually managed to swim closer to the rocks, swim into the bay. Then I get to this part on the bay where it's really pulling me forward and back, and I can't make it the last 10 meters, but I hold onto some seaweed when it tries to pull me back, and then it throws me forward. I hold onto more seaweed. Finally, I end up. So that's like studying the whirlpool. Then
you study the patterns.
Wow.
Yeah.
Freezing cold, right? Like it takes me 15 minutes of shivering. And then we have to get out of this place. So we have to climb up an incline like this, covered in cactus. We don't have any shoes anymore. We climb up, we see a ledge, we notice it drops down as the next bay. Anyway, we managed to finally get up through the cactus to the road. Now we're miles away from where the car is. We hitchhike some Mexican tourists in their camper wagon to get back to where we are. And I'm like, okay, I used up one of my 9 lives on that day.
Wow.
But again, that's the human ingenuity. You study the patterns because your two pals.
If I had known those patterns a little in advance, it would have been more helpful.
Right. But your
tides and bays and
right, but your two pals couldn't do anything. They couldn't jump in and save you either.
No.
Did everybody survive?
We all survived.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah. No, that's pattern recognition leads to comprehensive awareness. I think that's what you've done in our talk today is you've studied the patterns in all these different art forms at all the corners of your pyramid and got a big picture view of everything. So anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and energy, and I hope we can plan a part 2. It can be like 3 or 4 months down the line.
Whatever. It's been a real pleasure, Gerry. Thank you.
Really fun. And I learned so much, and it's so funny because you reek of that kind of Claremont it's like you said, it's like the coolest hippie folk music town in California. I mean, I know.
I don't think it is anymore, but
well, it has that folk music center where Ben Hopper came. Yeah. And my friend Ray Collins sang on the Mothers of Invention first album, Frank Zappa, and he lived in his van in Claremont for about 40 years.
Well, Joan Baez babysitted friends of mine, right?
Oh yeah.
And there were other famous people.
Yeah, it just had a great atmosphere, and again, that whole UCLA culture center is so important too, because we know we probably have friends in common there. What's
she doing in Buenos Aires?
Yeah, but you were in Germany for 40 years. Now, why are you in South?
I still officially live in Germany. I'll be on tour. I go on tour all the time, so I'm on the road all the time. I'll be leaving at the end of the month to go to go there. But basically, when I started dancing tango about 20 years ago, I was hired to come to Buenos Aires to teach the other dances that I teach. Right. And I just got so involved in the tango world, and then tango became not only my obsession, but many years down the road when I became proficient enough in it, it's another part of my job, teaching tango and DJing. And that's DJing a new thing, but doing that stuff, doing
Tango is amazing because we've studied Astor Piazzolla. My wife does one of his songs, and the thing I always say about Astor is the dude changed his country's music, and they beat him up on the street. You changed our music. Then they realized he was noted, a composer worldwide. So then they started selling coffee mugs with his picture on it because they could use it as a tourist thing. You know,
it's more complicated than that, but yes, all right. Let's go.
You can explain it more, but it is sad when, you know, I mean,
I'd love to hear it.
yeah.
He's still on.
You want, my wife would love to hear. You want to summarize it?
I keep,
You want to summarize
to the next one. I keep going to. I keep hearing her
Yeah.
little comments in the background. It's cute.
No, we'll do it next time. So Helene, now let me say it right. Helene, thank you so much for your time and energy. I'm going to hit the end broadcast button now, but I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Jeez.